And then there's sexual exploitation, there's forced labour in agriculture, domestic service, construction, sweatshops. Victims of forced labour in Europe come mainly from Asia, former Soviet republics, Eastern Europe and Africa. North America, human trafficking. Latin America and the Caribbean, same thing, with sexual exploitation and labour. Africa, no different. Children represent a higher proportion of forced labourers in Africa than in other parts of the world. In the Middle East, young boys from South Asia and East Africa are trafficked in some Gulf states to work as camel jockeys. South Asia, millions of men, women and children are trapped in bonded labour across the region, which can trap whole families over many generations. Bonded labour in South Asia is found in agriculture, domestic work, the sex trade, brick kilns, glass industries, tanneries and other manufacturing industries. Same thing in Asia Pacific. Asia is also crossed by human trafficking routes, particularly used for sexual exploitation. Thailand is a popular resort for this. It's awful. Around 211 million children aged from 5 to 14 are at work around the world, according to UNICEF. Between 5 and 6 million children are forced labourers. They work in anything, including the sex trade. Mere children. In 2000, it was estimated that 246 million children were involved in child labour. Of 171 million were involved in work which by its nature is hazardous to their safety, physical and mental health and moral development. It just goes on and on. Different materials like cloth, metal, plastic bags are sorted by hand. And they would be pulled out from the rivers or in cesspits where there are rotting corpses and feces, food waste and other garbage, which this particular reporter said made their throats sting and their eyes water. According to one estimate, more than 20% of India's economy is dependent on children. That is the equivalent of 55 million youngsters under 14. And then in West Africa, the cocoa farms. You know that chocolate you love so much? Yes. They say 12,000 children have been trafficked to the Ivory Coast. And this is all to provide our chocolate. But you know, you think of the third world countries, well, they say that child poverty in America, 1 in 6 children lives in poverty in America. In the UK, 50 kids a day are sex victims. 50 children a day have experiencing sexual assault. But they say that the number is much greater than that. There were 20,758 alleged sex crimes involving under 18s. That's what the officers in England and Wales in 2008 said. In almost a quarter of the cases, the victims were 10 or under. That's a quarter of 20,758 alleged offences. A quarter of the children were under 10. And 800 offences, the children were 4 and under. Britain is now the official drugs capital of Europe as more youngsters use cocaine, ecstasy and amphetamines. Young people in the UK are more likely to take cocaine. They're using cocaine in quantities and with a frequency unmatched anywhere else in the world apart from the US. Drug abuse in Britain is worse than anywhere else in Europe, a study has found. 1 in 20 children of 15 and 16, around 200,000 teenagers, have used the drug. We have obviously got it very wrong, haven't we? We, the adults, have got to start taking responsibility. We are abusing our children by what we are allowing them to learn and to do. We give them toys, these Xbox games that teach them violence, teach them how to kill. We send them to learn martial arts, which puts them in direct contact with the demonic. We tell them Harry Potter is only clean fun, whereas those in the demonic world tell us there are handbooks for the satanic. We are actually abusing our own children. And that is besides the physical abusing. We think it's harmless fun. You know, in Israel, sex slavery thrives, calling human trafficking one of the greatest human rights abuses of our times. Promoting a book he has written on the subject, Malarek said, destitute third world and East European females as young as 12 are tricked into leaving their homelands with promises of wealth and prosperity in the West as well as Israel. Well, I'm not really surprised about Israel, as I will come to in a little while. There are between 5,000 and 10,000 trafficked women in Israel and more than 280 brothels in Tel Aviv alone. The United Nations has cited human trafficking as international crime, generating more than 12 billion US worldwide, and more than 800,000 people are trafficked. And I have to tell you, many of these are just mere children. Australia. 13% of Australian adults and 15% of children live in poverty. 2.4 million Australians don't have enough money to take care of basic needs, such as housing, clothing and food. In Australia, over 1 million children don't get enough to eat. But over here in the United Kingdom, we are saying children as young as 5 are going to be forced to face compulsory sex education. Down in Gaza, where Israel is bombing and has been bombing Gaza, you know, they say it's like hell there. It's so awful. The 23rd of February this year, it was said that the government is saying that parents should not tell their children what is right or wrong about having sex, says the minister.